expand to the article The Myths of Assessment written by Path Belanov, an article title which really fits to its content, a myth in which it explains a practice or a belief. But this time, this article does not talk about a myth of a literary work or piece. This article tries to explain our practice or belief when we assess or make judgment on a written work, particularly the written outputs of the students in the class. This explains the different practices we make as we judge the essays or text of our student. On Path Bilano's third myth, I do agree with her. Even if we know what we're testing for and what the artifact is in front of us, we still don't agree on how well the student has achieved the goals. I do love her idea in this math. While reading this part of the article, I found myself laughing. I imagined the scenario that she was trying to explain, which is true. In fact, teachers will do provide criteria in assessing the student's text, but failed to follow those criteria during the assessment and of giving of grades. We set rules and prepare criteria in grading the text. Teachers will think it over and over again what would be the best aspect or factors to look for during the assessment of the written text of the students. But we still don't give a good credit. We try to look for another text that meet our standards and has the same point of what we have, even if these texts follow our rules in writing and meet the criteria. Graders would tend to look for a flaws. As we assess a text, we have it in mind to look for a perfect written output from our students. We will look for a tiny bits of flaws so that we can conclude that it's not what we're looking for. I quote, "Modern critical theory points to something we've always known, that people don't read in the same way, that as a result, texts do not embed meaning. They enable meaning. Moreover, as we read to assess a text, we react as to how we understand the content and as to how it affects us. Furthermore, other readers may have different understanding with the context and may have different response from us. Others may understand the text as a whole, and others may understand it in each part of the text. What is important in assessing a text is we know how to follow our rules in assessing and knows what we are judging." I also support her fourth myth. It's possible to have an absolute standard and apply it uniformly. As we assess the text of the students, it's better to have a good standard in assessing. And I agree with the idea of talking it and or discussing it with my fellow teachers as to how to assess a text and how to come up with a well-constructed rules and criteria which will be agreed to all in order to apply it uniformly. From that, it could create meaningful way of assessing students' text. Let's put it in mind that texts reflect our life. It helps us express our emotions or what we feel. For instance, I have a teacher before, way back when I was in high school. She shared it with us that whenever she had disagreement with her co-teacher, she would not confront nor talk to her or talk to this person, but rather she will write a poem. She will release anything what she felt that day, and after which she's fine. Another good example is my college friend. She hates our teacher for being so strict and inconsiderate, and she can't talk about what she felt to our teacher face to face because she doesn't want to offend her and she doesn't want that her grade would also be affected. So, during our free time, she would write a poem expressing her anger and disappointment, and after which she felt a relief. That's the power of text. We may have different interpretations of their actions, but still, it's a good point to them because they were able to release their emotions without harming someone. I do concur the idea that judging the text rely on different factors, and those factors that we considered could affect much as we agreed or disagreed from our students' idea. And from those factors, we can also consider in setting of a certain standard of assessing and or judging a text or written output with our fellow teachers in order to come up with a constructive idea and a uniform judgment. Somehow, this might be helpful and effective to avoid biases for the students during the assessment, and from which we could passively give comments or advice as to how to improve his text or their text by being fair. Lastly, there's nothing wrong with the text and the idea of the text, but rather there might be wrong with the person who assessed that particular text. Thank you.